Alright, chat. We are gonna be getting a bunch of packs. And if you guys watch people play MLB or do play MLB, you know that Ted Williams is the new collection card. And I did not buy anyone. I was just going through, seeing what I had done, and I'm 13 out of 24 cards away. Or 11 out of 24 cards away. So, hopefully, this is going to take no time at all. And we can get Ted Williams quicker than what we got, Scott Rowland. But to be fair, I don't hit good with Ted Williams. Never have. I'm just finishing out this barbecue map real quick. Pretty self-explanatory, and I'm not sure why I struggled with this so much. I think I was a bit lost with the enemies everywhere, but you literally just have to steal a few parts, and that's it. And right after I did steal my first engine part, I also completed a challenge, which was story, but it gave me a trophy for doing it, so here's that. I then just grabbed the remaining parts and returned back to the tank. The next chapter then began the story, and it was daytime now. I find that insulting. It did not take me that long to get those parts, but fine. Judge me, game. Judge me. Anyways, the remainder of this war story is kind of battling Germans and a lot, and I mean a lot of tanks in the villages we just stole from. This actually did take me quite some time to complete because tank combat is very meh in this game, and it's not easy when the AI are actually good like they are in hard difficulty, but it ends off with us getting each other a pickle, and enemies were everywhere on the tank again. Germans and their orgies, man, they can't get enough of it. So our leader dude decided to just sacrifice himself, and then he blew up the tank with all the enemies. Again, we survived just fine, and then hobbled off with our boy, getting stories from German Pop as well. War Story 2 was then called Friends in High Places, and this one was more plane-oriented, having us play as a character named Clyde Blackburn, who made his way to the army through gambling and is just simply an upstand guy. If you get it, you get it. But this chapter was somehow my least favorite, most favorite, hardest, and coolest out of the entire game. As I said, it's plane-oriented. We're gonna go up and try to take out the stronghold real quick. The more we can take out the stronghold, the easier it will be on us. So we are trying to get rid of the stronghold real quick. Let alone make sure all the bombers stay alive to make it on the bombing run. But thankfully, every time they do a run, you only really need one alive because a fresh wave comes afterwards. But that's not to say it was easy because I did still die numerous times to the point where I began to understand why so many planes crash nowadays. Pardon me, don't judge. But once the bombing run was finished, we would end up taking a big crash real this time, ending up inside of no man's land. It was also nighttime. So from the time we got shot down midday to the time we crashed, hours passed, and we somehow didn't die or get caught. Our armor is so real in this game, and I love it. I truly feel special inside, and not the short one. So this chapter was almost entirely about stealthing, considering we are literally in enemy lines, not alerting anybody, you can yourself and me dying. This also led to me getting 10 kills with melee weapons in the campaign that really pop called Up Close and Personal. But after making it through the no man's land trenches, we spotted our plane because apparently we ended up outside of it at some point, and now I'm even more impressed upon our survival. But our boy was still there, who has been our gunner and plane partner. We then picked him up over our shoulders and had to run back across the place to get more side and save him. So we are almost done with Nikola though. It's generally acceptable to just shoot them, which is why we had to take it slow and avoid spotlights to make it over safely. This wasn't that hard, thankfully, and I did it with ease. So we saved the day, and it was all fun, but then word got out to the leading commander here that we are not supposed to be in the military.
All right, ready to get underway. And up to the plate comes Cody Bellinger. Line drive.
Nothing you can do about those as a hitter. Even though you know that, they still drive you absolutely crazy.
Up the middle. Oh, what a stop. Throw to first, and they get the...
Why does this feel like I'm playing on fucking Hall of Fame or fucking Legend?
To third.
Oh, that gets through. Oh, wow, again. Game's being bipolar right now.
Aggressive and got something he could handle. There's something about pulling one down the line and shooting it through the infield that's just so satisfying as a hitter. It's just
Yelly.
Yelich! Gone! And they jump out front. It's 2-0. Now here's Xander Bogaerts now.
Also won't be wanting another man case style. The flip and ours were going down, and we all just jumped off of the edge. And of course, there was one of the most, as we would say. That ending was on God, the most cinematic ending I've ever seen in a game. And I'm not kidding. I got slightly erected playing Tuesday. But here's that story's trophy because it is unfortunately over. The next war story was the shortest in the game, but also a bit cheesy because it was like 99% just straight up combat. You basically play as this dude trying to save his best friend or brother, maybe gay lover. I don't totally remember that well. But you got to wear giant armor suits, and it felt like I was playing Fallout for a hot minute. However, I didn't get any trophies within it besides the one for completing the story in general. Overall, we killed a lot of people and we didn't save our boy. But it's honestly a great representation of what war is like. You do so much pain for usually.
A pop at the plate. Outfield playing back almost on the warning track. Swinging a high fly ball in the air left field. That's back there. That's low.
That boy Xander.
They go back to back, and they add a run. It's 3-0. Righty reliever out of the pen, Kyle Leahy.
Just trying to keep this one close here, and this is where a bullpen can give their players a chance to fight back into the game.
So 2 down, and now here is Carlos Delgado. And that's downstairs and outside.
Far too much of modern Call of Duty campaigns, and I cried
2 out, space is empty.
We were basically trying to stop a train, and we had to release 3 different pigeons to signify surrender from 3 different commanders, which required us
high
to go
fly
find them,
ball down the left field line.
Send off birds.
That's carrying. Tattooed
and
and gone.
But I did
And
do
they
it.
had a run. It's 4-0.
The story then had one more
And here is Ryan Dozier. And a good fastball to start him off. That's strike 1.
We were in, and oh my god, doing this in hard was insanely annoying.
Foul
because
ball
if you
there.
sit on any of the turret guns for more than 2 shots at the train at a time, a fucking bomb from Jesus Christ ditches above just falls on you.
He goes down
immediately, which led me to developing a strategy where I would
back here in St. Louis, and today's starting pitcher, Nick Lodolo. Chris, how about a scouting report?
Big-time arm power. One thing he struggles with, though, is repeating his delivery. Sometimes you have bigger pitchers trying to sync things up. Not as easy as a more compact pitcher. But if he can get command going, establish it early, and carry it through the ball game, he's going to pitch deep into this one.
Swings through it, and that's a strikeout. Now, Victor Scott. And that gets the inside corner for a strike.
It looked badass. Made me feel like a real man. It had 10 out of 10 editing, visuals, everything. Also, the trophy from beating the campaign popped afterwards with the hard mode trophy, along with it, obviously. So now the trophy guide says to go do online, but I found that to be a silly request because the campaign is still sitting over here unfinished in terms of trophies. Which is why I then jumped to stage 3, the campaign cleanup. The first thing I did before going out
strike 3, and that's 2 in a row.
I instead got all
and now it's Ivan Herrera. Pitch misses, and it's 1-0.
Left in a rating building, and then killing an enemy with it. Very easy. Here's a joy pop. I then just got 5 kills.
First 2 hitters get punched out on strikes. Take some notes from the dugout. When you get your chance, go up there and hit the ball hard somewhere.
Chapter in the final story, and this trophy
got it.
Because that would have made it so much easier.
Welcome back, and we've got a new arm on the mound to start the second. Ryan Fernandez.
Just ran in, hit them with my sickle or whatever, and then ran away. Getting a joy pop upon the third one, getting railed guy style. Now that is unfortunately all of the trophies in the campaign besides the challenge trophies, and I'm not going to go through every single challenge because most of them are boring or just not that hard, but I am going to highlight
so, seeing how I need stubs.
That's outside.
And it's hard because there's a lot of field guns.
So I can get Gallo.
And nearing the end of the chapter, there's a
next offering is outside.
Because I need to buy Rendon, which that will help me get one, which that will get me Gallo, so I'll That mean I only need 3 more
Say goodbye to that one. He'll circle the bases.
3 more
It's 5-zip.
pipeline pass cards, so which would be Schwarber or Vlad, Nate Pearson, and I forgot the other one that I need. But Vlad and Schwarber are both fucking over 200K.
Over to first. That takes care of Grandal. So the batting order turns over. Now the left fielder, Cody Bellinger. Drilled in the air out towards right center. Drops into the glove, and there's 2 down. Now here's Bobby Witt Jr. He's 0 for 1.
Now I need to play
First offering is fouled off.
a couple Diamond Quest maps real quick.
Or you go right to get another plane flying that way. I would have suggested going and 3 more planes come flying in slightly to the right of our
Lifted to left center, way back there, and that is gone.
Good. But then 3 bombers come flying in.
He circles the bases. Second home run of the inning for him. It's 6-0. And the batter now, Joe Adell. 1 for 1 with a single and a run scored so far. No question about this one. It's out of here. Another one. Back-to-back homers. And they tack one on the board. It's 7-0. Now it's Christian Yelich. Right side. On to first. Yelich out on the back here in St. Louis, ready to go for the last half of the inning. Here's Contreras now. Just off the outside edge.
Clearly down in this ball game, and you can't look at the deficit.
And seeing how packs are fucking key,
Shrink it down smaller.
I might,
Make that guy on the mound work to get you
before I hop into rank, right? Hear me out, chat.
2-2 now.
I save all the packs from the programs, right?
4 strikeouts in a row.
And I just do fucking Team Affinity and do the color storm cards so I can get said packs from that and get stubs and hopefully pull a good diamond that I need, aka Lindor, Tatis, Patel, Shohei, Judge, fucking J-Ram I need.
Swing and a miss as he was out front. And speaking of that defense, it's hard to imagine.
I got lucky pulling Bobby Witt.
Shared the left side of the infield with it. Handles, throws to first.
Bobby Witt is literally my best live series diamond pull.
We're back to start the third, and there's a new arm on the mound, JoJo Romero.
And with the big deficit on the scoreboard, he almost has to just put that out of his mind.
This ball is crushed into left field. It's on its way and gone. Another homer. His second home.
This team just loves home runs. Of course, I'm playing on fucking veteran. But still, even in rank, this team loves home runs. I'm not too worried about doing ranked multiplayer program shit, because I will get that sooner or later.
And only a short while later, thanks to a service assignment I completed, I reached rank 2 with the support card with the final trophy.
Liner, and this could be trouble. Makes the turn and heads for second. In safely, it's a double, and his second hit.
Oh, that'll make you feel good as a hitter right there. 110 miles per hour, and man, that exit velocity, not every hitter's capable of getting that kind of jump off the bat, no matter how hard they swing.
Dozier swings through that one as he comes to the plate for the second time today. And a base hit up the middle. Coming home. He will score, and it's an RBI single, and they now lead by 9.
Stringing them together, that's 3 hits in a row. When you can turn a ball around at 107 off the bat, it's going to make you feel really good inside. If he elevates that a little bit more, it's definitely out of here.
Rolling, batting for the second time, and that's strike 1. Next offering is in for a strike.
Well, he had a pretty good look at that pitch and not sure exactly what tied him up there. Couldn't pull the trigger, and perhaps the best pitch you'll see in this at-bat to hit.
And he held back, according to Larry Bullard. Foul ball still a 1-2 count.
Today we're talking about Alvin Norkey, 6 foot, 215-pound, red-headed hillbilly blacksmith from the mountains of Tennessee that was drafted into World War I despite his
drilled
desire
out towards
to be a
left center field. That's well struck.
That's
back.
By the time his paperwork had cleared recognizing him as a
town.
conscientious objector, he decided to go into combat anyways because he had become convinced that he was on a mission from God to protect the innocent, and he would go on to become
now
one
up
of
to the
America's
plate,
greatest war
Yasmani
heroes in World
Grandal.
War I.
0 for 1, he grounded out in his first at bat. High fly ball, and that one curling foul down the right side.
I mean, I know you said you were packing heat, but Jesus.
And you thought it was going to...
That one missed.
I mean, it's rigid, it's hard. I don't see how anybody can be disappointed with something like this. I know it's a miracle people survive.
Swinging a foul out of play.
This is exactly what it looks like.
Hi, Nana.
All right, here's the deal. Super simple, straightforward business model. You give them money, they turn around and make sure the data
And
brokers
look
on
out.
the internet aren't selling
That
your
one
personal
ran in, he
information.
got
What
him.
does that even mean?
He
Okay,
had
here's
two
the entire
strikes on
internet
him,
and every
and he
free
hit
service
him.
on the planet inside of a
So a
nutshell.
man at
Okay, there's a
first.
saying, if you're
And the
not
batter
paying
now,
for the product,
Cody Bellinger.
you are the product. What that means is
This
pretty much
one
anything on the internet that
smoked
you
on its
use,
way
that's a service.
out
Whether
of
that be
here.
Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it. Okay? It's
People are gonna say, aren't you just gonna just get 3 outs? No.
It's 13-0.
I will not just get 3 outs.
This one drilled to left. No doubt about it as they add on more. Gone. He'll touch them all. He's done it again. His second homer of the game. It's 14-0. New arm of the mound for the Cardinals, Steven Matz. He's into the game with the bases empty.
Basically, you're paying to leave me to get rid of all the downsides of all of the free
Here's a
stuff
rocket
on
out
here,
to left.
which I think is absolutely worth it. If you want
And
to check
there's
it out,
one
I'll
down.
link the discount code down below. Let's get back to the video.
Hey, about damn time.
You have to remind yourself it's about the process. He did everything right there. Nothing to show for it. But in your mind, you have to convince yourself that it was a very good at-bat.
And they all grew up in a 2-bedroom log cabin in Pall Mall, Tennessee, right next to the Kentucky border.
Swings and sends a rocket.
Wow.
That's it. 2 down.
Not fooled at all right there. He was clearly all over it, but sometimes you hit it too hard and right at someone. You're looking for one of those bloop hits to get a knock sometimes.
Matz, 33 years old, and he was a second-round pick back in 2009. Swing and a line drive, base hit out of the center field.
Straight up mountain folk and
Joey
have
gets
been
on
for
base
hundreds
and
of
keeps
years.
it
Okay,
going.
they're devout Christians.
Had himself a really nice game at the plate. You'll often hear the phrase short to it, long through it, and that's a great example of it right there. Got the barrel in the hitting zone early, squared it up with the well
Drop the PCI.
and came away with a beautiful line drive in this.
And there's the third out. It's a bit of a blowout now, which gives us a bit more freedom here in the booth.
I'm not sure that's a good thing.
See, where do you stand on the wave?
Well, the wave of star players in MLB or the wave around this ballpark?
The wave around the ballpark.
I think it's a little outdated. I'm more of a thundersticks guy.
And that's not outdated. And first offering is fouled off.
Extremely accurate. By the time he was 10 years old, he was so accurate.
Swing and a miss. So my dad told me that he had a bunch of Mickey Mantle rookie cards and a whole bunch of valuable cards, and his mom tossed them because, what did she know? So I made my mom keep all my baseball cards, and I really don't have any that are valuable. And that story stunk by me. Anyway, Thomas Saggese now in the box, comes up empty with a swing there. They're down to their final strike. The Cards down to their final strike. Lifted to left, and that should do it.
Young teenage Alvin York,
And that
walk
is the
miles
ball
into town,
game.
partake in this shooting competition with his muzzleloader, win all 4 events, and then opt to just take the whole cow and walk it home so he didn't have to carry all the slaughtered meat himself, and he would then slaughter the cow once he got home. Not only was Alvin extremely accurate with a firearm, but by the time he was 18, 19, 20 years old, he was a pretty big dude by that point in time. Like, he was the biggest guy in his family and the biggest guy in town. He was a 6-foot redhead coming in at 215 pounds that had been doing nothing but running around in the woods hunting for food.
Okay, chat.
Blacksmithing his entire life. He was built like a brick shithouse. He was so big and so jacked compared to everybody else living up in the Appalachian Mountains that they would just refer to him as Big. You know, as in like, hey, go talk to Alvin about that. Oh, okay, sure. Which one's Alvin? Fucking the Big. And this has been his entire life at this point. His childhood, his teenage years, his early 20s, just hunting out the woods, blacksmithing, farm.
Sir, you have to wait until the tray is in this area.
Oh, sorry.
Got a drive there.
Sorry, sir.
The tray hasn't even crossed the line.
Yeah, we're 11 out of 24 away.
10 million power.
But you haven't even cracked 5 digits.
What about 80 million power?
Sir, why didn't you say so earlier?
Even though I started it in a remote and impoverished valley, it didn't matter. I prioritized unlocking economic technologies like irrigation and trade in the early stages. Once I had control of the water supply, I got a grip on the region's whole economy and built my wealth from scratch. Then I continued to develop trade, made allies, and scale up my armies and weapons. Finally, this kingdom is mine.
Take it. Take it all.
Crossplay, now available.
Whoa, that big guy is huge, and he's coming for my base. Woo, that was close. Okay, let's build an archer tower to help defend ourselves some. Nice, the archer tower should help me take out this next big guy. There we go, but he spawned a bunch of red enemies. We need another tower. This is gonna be close. Look at all the enemies.
Actually, no.
Okay,
this is gonna be my...
And the big red guy, I don't know. Nice. Okay, we're gonna need a third archer tower if we want to survive. Nice, the third archer tower is doing so much damage. We got this. This is King Shot, a tower defense game that doesn't treat players like idiots when enemies are closing in. You can decide how you want to defend your territory. Focus on fast response tactics to stop them early, or play the long game and use your advantage around. Everything's all up to you. But being a king is so much more than this. You've got to actually care about your people. Listen to them, solve their problems, and eventually win their support. The level of details in this game are just amazing. I've never seen anything quite like this one. So download it now if you want to roll in battle like this one true king.
Getting food to survive, minding his own business, and going to church on Sundays. That's what he does. That's all he ever wants to do. It's just a perfect, peaceful, happy life. As time goes on, his two older brothers wind up finding wives. They move out. They start their own families. Now Alvin is the oldest sibling in the house. And then in 1911...
Okay, we'll try out Jeter in rank.
Alvin becomes the man of the
But
house.
program...
He does not take this that well. His dad was his best friend. He was attached to the man at his hip his entire life. Not only is he gone and he lost his friend, but he has to immediately step in and fill the giant shoes that he left behind to provide for his mother and his 8 younger siblings. During this time, Alvin quits going to church. He picks up a drinking problem, a smoking problem, a gambling problem. He's doing everything he can to make money and provide for his family, but any free time he has, he's spending at the bar getting belligerently drunk. Over the course of the next couple of years, Alvin gets a reputation for being a troublemaker. He's always getting in fights, both fists, knives. Thankfully, he's able to avoid gunfights because anytime somebody wants to pull a gun because he's a big dude, he pulls out his gun and shoots something as a demonstration of how accurate he is. One account said a man pulled a gun on him, he pulled out his gun, and then shot the head off a lizard behind him. At which point, that guy was like, you know what, never mind, I'm good. Puts the gun back away, which is probably the correct answer. Now, this raises a question, how does he always get in all these fights, but he never actually gets in trouble? Well, one, this is the early 1900s in rural Tennessee and Appalachia, so there isn't much law enforcement, but to make things worse, his preferred bar is known as the Blind Tiger, which is literally on the border between Kentucky and Tennessee, and inside the bar, there's a white line painted across the floor labeling each state, Kentucky and Tennessee. So even when the sheriffs did show up, all anybody in the bar would do is if the Tennessee sheriffs showed up, they would walk over to the Kentucky side and be like, you don't have any jurisdiction here, and vice versa.
You're just out of our jurisdiction. And so if I'm across the line and you're over there, there's no way that you...
Now, to us, modern-day people, obviously this sounds a little bit ridiculous, that they would just walk across the painted line on the ground like it was, a salt line that demons can't cross and the law enforcement can't get you. But back then, it's really how it went, because if 1, 2, even 3 deputies showed up to a bar fight and there's 40 people in the bar and they all walk to the other side and they're like, you have no jurisdiction here, all have guns. Guess what? You don't really have any jurisdiction here. The only jurisdiction you have is to lose a 40-on-3 gunfight. This is 1912, rural Tennessee. There's no calling for backup for the sheriff's department. There's no local police department. There's no highway patrol. There's no National Guard, no FBI, no feds. Nobody's coming to back you up. If you get into some shit with the wrong people, you're just going to be another motherfucker that went missing in the mountains of Appalachia. The end. So Alvin York is just kind of an unstoppable terror on the town when he's drunk. He gets mean. He's huge. You can't beat him in a fist fight. You can't beat him in a gunfight. There's not really anything you can do to the guy. He winds up getting accused of selling stolen guns, never gets in trouble for it. He'd walk out of the bar at sunrise, absolutely hammered. A rooster would crow. He'd pull out his gun and shoot somebody's rooster just because he was hungover and didn't want to hear it. He'd be drunk in the middle of town yelling while church is in session, trying to disrupt everything. Just, there was nothing anybody could do about the guy. And this went on for years. And the entire time, he's just breaking his mom's heart, because this is not the sweet young kid that she raised. This isn't the man his father was. This isn't the man he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be his dad version 2.0, bigger and stronger and hopefully even better. And he's just not turning out that way. Then on New Year's Eve, 1914, Alvin goes out drinking, comes back home, 3 in the morning, pissed drunk, and his mom stays up all night waiting for him, and she finally confronts him and just says, Alvin, when are you going to start being the man that your father and your grandfathers were? And the words hit Alvin like an absolute truck. He knows what he's been doing is wrong, and he just breaks down. He's literally on his knees, sobbing with his head in his mom's lap, crying and apologizing. He promises his mom he's going to turn it around. He's going to start going to church again. He's going to give up gambling, smoking, drinking, fighting, everything. He's going to be the man his father was and the man that he was supposed to be. And his mom just says, I know you will. And that's it. January 1st, 1915, Alvin York is a completely new man. He gives up all of it. He starts going to church again, and he just starts doing all the things that he should have been doing all along. I'm paraphrasing here, but he would later go on to write that essentially he had fought an awful lot of men at this point in his life, and the fight that he had with himself to give up drinking and smoking was absolutely the hardest fight he ever had. But he does it, and within a couple of years, he's an elder in his church, literally teaching Sunday school to kids, and he's overall just an upstanding member in his community. His reputation isn't fully repaired yet, but it's definitely getting better. Around this point in time, he falls in love with the girl down the road, Gracie. He meets up with her in private all the time. They never do anything wrong. They never kiss. They don't even hold hands. But they just talk, and Alvin York wants to marry this woman. Problem is her father does not approve, because he's only been an upstanding member of the community for a couple of years now, and he was an absolute terror for like 5 years before that, and he's not convinced that Alvin York is a good man yet. And York just kind of accepts that. He knows that he did wrong, and he's got to prove that he's a good man now, so he just gives the father more time and just keeps being an upstanding member in the community. He keeps seeing Gracie, but they never kiss, they never hold hands, they never do anything that would be considered wrong for, Christians in the early 1900s. And that's his plan. He's going to prove to Gracie's father that he's a good man over time, and then he's going to marry that girl, make her his wife, and he's going to go on to live happily ever after. But then in September of 1917, he gets a red card in the mail from Washington, D.C. Alvin York has just been notified that he is to go sign up for the draft.
Okay, so this is what I'm planning on doing, alright? I'm planning on doing
He does not think that he is supposed to fight, kill, do any of that business, and he does not
this
want to go
TA,
on and do it. So on the draft card,
this one,
where he's supposed to
this
fill out
one,
all of his information,
this one,
they ask on there, are you a conscientious
this one.
objector? He checks yes, explain your reasoning. He simply writes,
I gotta do this one.
and mails it back off.
Pax. That's right. Pax. I gotta do Phillies.
You might have mistaken the garbage truck for a convertible. Why is this person following me wherever
I
walk?
did
That's just your
Reds.
shadow.
I gotta do Brewers. I gotta do the Dodgers.
My family's always shopped at Chewy
And
for our
I
dogs and
gotta
cats
do
and
San
for our home, so
Francisco.
of course we're doing the same. And as you can
Why?
see, he loves a Chewy delivery day. Lucky
Pax.
for him, the delivery days keep coming, even though I'm super forgetful. The Chewy team has helped us set up auto ship, so we never have to worry about placing another order. Always a 10 out of 10 experience, but don't take my word for it. Give Chewy a call and see for yourself.
Because the way my pack look is going, there's no way I'm buying Judge. I can potentially buy Jalen sometime, but I'd rather pull him. Same with Lindor. Same with Tatis. Definitely not gonna buy Shohei. Not for 708. And you can tell. I'd rather pull all 6 of these cards. How do we do that? Packs.
And the reasoning behind that is because Alvin York's sect of Christianity was Pentecostal, which is a fairly new sect of Christianity at this point in time.
And we just got our first boss, which we took Derek Jeter. Why? Because I'm a Yankee fan.
All the other mainstream Christian denominations, Catholic, Orthodox, Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, they're all getting drafted.
So,
or you guys can too. At this point in time, unless you were like actually a pastor or priest in one of these Christian denominations, conscientious objector status was more reserved for like Quakers, Amish, and Mennonites. So that's it. Alvin York's getting drafted. By November, he's got orders to report for duty, and by February, he is attached to G Company of the 328th Battalion of the 82nd Infantry Division, also known as the All-American Division. Now, typically at this point in time in World War I, World War II, divisions are kind of divvied up by the region that they come from, right? Like the 34th Infantry Division is a bunch of guys from the Midwest. The 77th Infantry Division is a bunch of guys from New York and New Jersey. The 442nd Infantry Regiment is a bunch of Japanese Americans
never did my
from the
pictures.
West Coast and Hawaii. But the 82nd Infantry Division in World War I is kind of an experiment because they just threw everybody into the same infantry division. They've got people from all 50 states, and 20% of the men weren't even born in
Jack
America.
Leiter.
So you can imagine the
We're just gonna throw our big boys up real quick.
Probably never traveled more than 60 miles away from his home, and now he's in this place surrounded by people from all 50 states, Poles, Italians, Greeks. It's absolutely crazy. Alvin later said he'd never seen a group of men that could out-drink, out-curse, and out-fight these guys, and that's why they are the All-American Division, because they are the embodiment of the concept of the American melting pot. And that's why their logo today says AA on it, for athletic alcoholics. I mean, All-American.
He's absolutely right.
So he goes into training. York starts doing everything he's told to do to the best of his ability. But in the background, he's still kind of trying to go through the paperwork, go through the chain of command, and get himself recognized as a conscientious objector. Because at the end of the day, he still does not want to go off and have to take somebody's life because he truly believes thou shalt not kill.
Now the left fielder, Masataka Yoshida.
Despite that, if push comes to shove, it's looking like he might be the best man doing it because he grew up his entire life no scope.
Check swing, did he go? Yes, he did.
And the Army is just given him a Model 1917 infield high-powered rifle chambered in 30-06.
Swings and hits one in the air out towards right field.
Killing machine in the hands
and
of
there's
Alvin
one
York.
down.
He is sitting there in training, hitting bullseye after bullseye. He is the best shot in the entire division. Got to remember, pretty broad group of people. There's a lot of people in this division that grew up in a city that have never even seen a rifle, and Alvin's been handling one since he could walk. Also, around this point, York starts
pitch misses outside, and that's ball one.
The only adjustment he needs to make is his target. If you aim at the outside corner, that slider's going to end up way off the plate. Perhaps look a little more down the middle, and you get it right where you want it.
You're not supposed to keep diary because you could write down important intel.
Everything came together for him. I could watch base hits like that one all day long, and so could every hitting coach in the league. Just a nice line drive into center field.
And now it's going to be Josh Lowe. That's inside. Ball one.
He says, "Sir, I'm not saying whether I do or whether I don't." At which point, the captain says, "A diary is going to betray you and your comrades." At which point, York replies, "Sir, I didn't come to fight a war and get captured. If the Germans want to get any intel out of me, they're going to have to get it out of my dead body." And that's coming from the 6', 215-pound redhead brick shithouse hillbilly that only knows how to hit bullseyes.
And that one lifted in the air, center field. Isbell has a beat on it. Two-away down.
York was honest with Captain Danforth. He kind of comes to him and is like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this. I think I should be a conscientious
Now it's Andrew Benintendi to hit.
Combat and have to kill somebody. I truly believe thou shalt not kill." Captain Danforth doesn't have that, authority to grant him that. So he ends up talking to his boss, Colonel Buxton. Colonel Buxton, a devout Christian man, but unlike York, he also believes that Christians have an obligation to go off and fight for their country when it's needed. So he calls York into his office. York shows up. York explains everything. A devout Christian, elder in my church.
Damn it.
Thou shalt not kill. At which point, Colonel Buxton the Bible, for which York is like, absolutely, yes, sir. At which point, Buxton hits him with a verse from the Bible. Luke 22, he who
I'm trying to get a drink.
sell his garments and buy one. York immediately fires fires back with another piece of scripture that supports his position. Then Colonel Buxton fires back with another piece of scripture that supports his. And they go back and forth having this scripture rap battle for over an hour.
And now, Michael Garcia.
I can't use Jack Leiter in fucking ranked. He got fucking shelled.
It's like two Wizards having a battle with Bible verses for over an hour.
And when I mean he got shelled, 10 runs in the first inning. Bad.
Tyrone Blanco. Swing and a miss. Strike one.
This shatters York's 0-1. York has this epiphany. Maybe he's been sent there by God because he's the watchman. Maybe he's supposed to be there to protect the innocent. So now he doesn't know what to do.
Swing and a miss, struck him out. And here is Bobby Witt Jr.
Have been writing every politician trying to get him recognized as a
Low has it sized up.
They even wrote the office of the president, and they got it pushed through. York receives the paperwork.
Top of the second. Here's the center fielder, Jung-Hoo Lee.
He will be recognized as a conscientious objector, but now he doesn't know if that's what he's supposed to do. Maybe he's supposed to
down and in. You know, this guy's great speed is in the back of that pitcher's mind. If he can get on, it's going to give him one more thing he's got to think about.
Line drive, and it goes just foul.
And he sits there for 36 hours reading the Bible and praying. Doesn't eat, doesn't drink, fasts the entire day.
Lee.
When he comes back down, he decides that he's going to go off to war.
And that should quiet this home crowd. And they jump ahead in the second. It's 1-0.
You're religious, but you believe York might be a little bit crazy. None of that matters.
In the air, right field, Canna. Sizing this one up.
The 6-foot-tall,
Hauls it in for the out. And there's one away. Now it's the second baseman, Ryan Dozier.
And that should terrify absolutely everybody. And you're
cut on and lifted in the air.
I've been doing combat sports my entire life.
Oh, that falls?
I've got certifications in MACP for my time in the Army. If you name a combat sport, I've probably done it to some extent.
I appreciate it, but why can't I get that in rank? Come on.
Somehow he got the barrel to it.
In rank, that's a bloop. That's a little bloop right into the glove. Attaboy, Derek. Needed that. I need Yoshida back up. Especially with someone in scoring position. Unless Delgado can get a homer.
There aren't a whole lot of hits that are more satisfying than a nice line drive in the center field. So that definitely felt good.
And now Carlos Delgado.
So York finishes up his 10 days of leave, heads back over to G Company, reports to Captain Danforth. Captain Danforth asks him if he wants to fight Germans. York replies,
swing and a ground ball base hit right field. In comes some insurance.
Run, Derek. Thank you.
It's an RBI single.
But you didn't have to slide right into him.
Back to the top of the lineup. Here's the left fielder, Masataka Yoshida. Fly to right, his first time. Slice the other way, that's a base hit. In comes the run from third to add on. It's an RBI single, and they're up by 3. Now the third baseman, Royce Lewis. 1-for-1 with a single so far. That one found hard the other way. Delgado over his second, Yoshida over at first, so going away.
Pretty impressive demonstration of his faith, because this dude, again, believes that he's on a mission
swing,
with God.
He went too far, and it's a strike.
God's not going to let him get hurt, and even if he does, it's part of God's plan, so it's okay. He does not give a fuck about anything. Like,
that's way outside. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
See if you can go upstairs a little bit. Make sure you miss up and out of the zone, since you're heading to count 1-2. Don't miss in the zone, because that's where you get hurt.
I hate to check swings in this game.
Fly to center his first time. He's 0 for 1. And that's in for a strike.
Bumblebees when I used to rob their nest back at home. Like, everybody else is having the worst time of their life, and him almost getting his head taken off by an enemy sniper.
Is it that I just want to get out of this and just complete this conquest map?
There's no use in worrying about shells if you can't alter things.
Pitch misses there. Now 1-2.
0-2 fastball way out of the zone. I think he's trying to speed him up. Got to stay back. Off speed's probably coming.
Wow.
That one hammered center field. That's back there. That one is gone. Second home run of the inning for them. And they add on. It's 6-0.
The Germans end up retreating. They take over the town. Hooray. After they take over the town, right outside
Benintendi. Wow, never thought I would say that name. Hitting a home run.
They go back to back.
Yeah.
It's 7-0. Stepping in, Jung-Hoo Lee. Rips that one to right.
All the soldiers retreat.
Makes the grab.
Okay, no more going on the Vineyards to eat
Back
grapes
here at
because they're
Kauffman
going to blow your
Stadium,
ass up.
bottom half of
Sergeant
inning
York
number
knows he's not
2
gonna get blown
at
up
the
because
plate.
God's
Vinny
gonna protect him.
Pasquantino
He's off
takes the strike.
I don't know about that one.
And strike 2.
Himself in the silence, and then he turns around, and it's Captain Danforth. And they kind of look at each other like, oh shit,
second,
we're both
and
caught.
out number
And Captain
1 on the
Danforth is like,
grab.
you're not supposed to be here.
Here's
York
Mark
is like,
Hanna.
yes, sir. And Captain Danforth is like, these grapes are delicious.
Just
and York is like,
misses.
yes, sir. From here, York in the 87th
Wait. You call that one that was mostly a ball a strike, but one that's dead on the line, just a ball. What the fuck? Come on, game.
Not largest at this point in time. No, just the largest.
Screw me over in Conquest like you did in Weekend Classic.
Swing and a miss. Got him to go up the ladder for the K.
D-Day, Saving Private Ryan, other TV shows.
Kyle Isbell, the batter now, as he swings and misses for strike 1.
56,000 men hitting the beach.
That one finds the zone, and it's
2
0-2.
million men attacking the German front. It is a military operation that is quite literally so large, it is hard to conceptualize, okay? There's 50 states in the United States. 11 of them have less than 2 million people. Okay, there's
this game's a bit of a blowout, Singy. Let's talk about something random.
Let's do it.
Singy, one of the biggest ways the game has changed bullpen arms. So many elite level bullpen arms.
So this is only one
Yeah, and I'm glad I'm not playing anymore. I mean, it's just a nightmare. When that door swings open out of the bullpen, you know what's coming in is
The fact that that's a hit.
At least one nasty pitch.
Hell, we're gonna steal.
Here's the second baseman, Brian Dozier.
Ryan Realmuto. Oh, in there.
Throw, save. That's a stolen base.
High leg kick hangs in the air, but he read it nicely, and now in scoring position to add on to this lead.
Brother goes again.
Horrible jump, but still in there. That if that throw is online, gunned all day.
Okay, when I say the Germans are dug in, I don't mean they
And ring him up, says Carl Dixon. That's a strikeout. So the Royals bring on a new arm, John Schreiber.
Well, they need someone to stop the bleeding and keep the score right where.
Oh, now this
Jeter?
blasted deep to left. Way back there.
Wait, why am I surprised that Jeter hit a home run?
And they add a couple more. It's 9-0. One out, bases empty. Carlos Delgado, the next to hit. Singled and drove in a run his first time through. Out towards left center.
Oh wait, I can't have Jeter in ranked right now. I need like 2 more stolen bases.
2 outs, bases empty.
And Bobby is the only speed guy I really use.
And there's a rocket into the outfield. Now he'll turn for second. In safely, it's a double, and his second hit.
Well, clearly he was ready to hit right there. Nice job of driving that pitch the other way on a line. You know, hitters, they take so many reps in the cages working on going to the opposite field, and it doesn't always translate into the game, but right there it did, and he did it perfectly.
And now, Royce Lewis.
What are we doing? The officer in charge is like, we were ordered to attack at 6:10. We're attacking at 6:10. Sure enough, 6:10 rolls around. The American artillery never shows up. He sends out 2 waves, 60 men. None of them make it. As this battle unfolds and the German machine guns open fire, the chain of command you can see, there's like 35 machine gun nests all over these 3 hills. There's absolutely no way they're going to make it past
Hammer,
35
base
German
hit.
machine.
Coming
From
home.
here, the chain of command decides the best course of action is going to be to send out a small
He'll score easily, and it's an RBI single, and it's a double-digit lead as they're up by 10. Runner at first with 2 away. Josh Lowe will hit next. Well struck right field.
Okay, I need him to run, but it's going to be third and second.
So 2 on with 2 away. Next is the designated hitter, Andrew Benintendi. He's already homered here in this one. Not even close there. And that is ball 1.
They all run really fast. The Germans don't hit them, but now the Germans know that they're coming. So it's not a good plan,
Browns
but it's
one to the right side.
That's more like Benintendi.
3 corporals and a bunch of privates. One of those corporals is
set for the bottom of the third, and here's the catcher, Freddie Fermin.
On
a line out towards center.
Pulls up,
Oh my. It's
like 3, 2,
no waiting around right there. He was ready to swing it on the first pitch. Everything was on time and fluid in that swing. Got a pitch you could get the barrel on and lined it into center for the knock. Those always feel good.
Now 2 balls and a strike.
Well, the leadoff man gets on. You want to minimize the threat by playing sound defense. Hopefully the pitcher can get a ball on the ground and they can roll him up for 2.
Off balance speed, there's 1. Back to first, and that is a double play.
Sometimes double plays get turned so quickly that you
good job, Jeter.
To appreciate all of the finer details and how these guys execute them. Right there, really nice.
To first, and this should do it. And that'll do it.
They make it through the valley completely undetected into the wood line, and now they spend the next hour and a half sneaking through the woods up and around behind the German position. After like an hour of sneaking through the woods in pretty much a straight line, the sergeant pulls off to the side and he's like, okay, do we think we've gone far enough that we need to start turning because we're going to be behind the German machine gun positions now, or do we need to go a little bit further? He wants to consult his corporals, see what everybody thinks. First 2 corporals say they've gone far enough, they should turn now. Gets to Alvin York, and Alvin York, for some reason, feels like they haven't gone far enough yet. He's like, I think we should keep going straight for a little bit further. Okay, again, I have no idea why Alvin York thought that. I don't know if he, has a feeling from God. I don't know if he can hear the narrator speaking because he's wearing the plot armor, but he decides to keep going straight. The sergeant agrees.
Let's open this pack real quick. It's not Rendon. Okay, not Rendon, so we're gonna just come right over here. Sorry, we're gonna come right here. We're gonna scroll down to Mr. Rendon, and we are not gonna buy Rendon. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit this ball in.
Probably don't even know it exists. So they use this.
Okay, we're gonna hit one more ball in.
It slips them right past that first hill and straight towards the hill that's in the center, which is their objective. So all right,
now we can get Rendon.
And on this creek, there's 2 German soldiers just filling up an entire cart full of canteens to bring back to all the other Germans. Those Germans see the Americans, they shit their pants and take off running. York and his guys take off chasing them because they want to capture them or kill them so that they don't alert the rest of the Germans that they're there. As they're chasing these guys down, they come up onto this meadow, and in this meadow, holy shit, it's the battalion headquarters tent for the entire German unit there. And right beside the tent, there's like 70 German infantry soldiers that are just sitting in this meadow, chilling, eating lunch. These were the reinforcements that the Germans had brought in to launch a counterattack against the 82nd Division. Now, the 2 Germans that they're chasing do not immediately cut out into the meadow because they don't want to run out into the open because then the Americans are going to shoot them. So they want to skirt this tree line and get as close to that tent as they can and then run into the tent and tell the German commander that the Americans are here. Okay, that's a good plan on their part as far as, not getting shot and dying goes. But fortunately for the Americans, this gives them time to be like, fuck that, let them keep running through the wood line. They immediately advance into the meadow and attack these 70 soldiers that aren't carrying their guns. They're just sitting down, chilling, eating lunch, and immediately force all 70 of them to surrender. Now, the 70 Germans are caught completely off guard. All they see is Americans running towards them with their guns up, yelling surrender. These guys have their guns, all set to the side. Half of them are sleeping, half of them are eating. They think it's a huge American counterattack, so they surrender immediately, not knowing that it's only 17 guys. While the Germans are standing up, putting their hands in the air, the other 2 canteen Germans cut out of the wood line, run into the battalion command tent, and tell the German commander, Commander Vollmer, the Americans Americans are attacking. He freaks out, grabs his pistol, turns around, goes to tell the 70 infantry troops that just showed up, get ready for a fight, and what he sees is they're already standing with their arms up in the air. They've already surrendered. And he's like, what the fuck?
I'm surrounded by idiots.
He then turns around again, probably trying to quickly send a runner or send a radio transmission to his other guys up on the hill, letting them know the Americans are here, and right in front of him is 6-foot-tall, red-haired, red-mustached, ginger Alvin York standing there with his gun, and he's like, surrender. So Commander Vollmer, who actually went to college in Chicago and in Alvin York's own words speaks better English than he does, understands exactly what Alvin York said, and agrees to surrender. York and Vollmer then leave the tent and they go out, and York's going to talk to the rest of his guys, and the Germans on top of Hill 2 with their machine guns have figured out something is going on, and they scream down at the Germans in German, presumably saying, get down. All the Germans drop, and the German machine guns open fire. Before York's guys even know what's going on, they are already getting lit up by these German machine guns. In a matter of seconds, 6 Americans are killed, 3 are injured, leaving 8 men left in play, with 70 prisoners and German machine gunners up on the hill opening fire on them. Of the 9 American casualties, they include the sergeant and the other 2 corporals, meaning that the only corporal, the only NCO, the only leadership position left in play is Alvin York and a bunch of privates. Alvin York is now in charge. The rest of the Americans all drop to the ground, try to return fire, but they're mostly just taking cover. Alvin York rushes the hill by himself.
So, I'm going to kill each and every one of you, and the only disappointment in it for me is that I only get to do it once.
The privates then get themselves oriented to the situation, and the 7 remaining dudes are both returning fire, trying to provide covering fire for Alvin York, while also trying to make sure that the 70 unarmed Germans behind them don't jump them and overpower them. York continues to advance under enemy fire, reaches a little swell on the ground, and drops down into a prone position, not because he's trying to avoid bullet fire. God does that for him. He just drops down to prone so he can be more accurate. So now he's looking down the sights of his rifle, and he's just waiting for the German helmet to pop up. He's sitting there, he's yelling, surrender, give up. He's literally trying to be a nice guy about this. German helmet pops up, domes the guy immediately. And in the back of his head, all he can think is, man, these German heads are way bigger than the heads of turkeys back home when I was hunting. He's still continuing to shout surrender as German helmets keep popping up, trying to man the machine gun. And every time a German helmet pops up, he fucking drops them.
You are amazing at this. How did you get so good?
Whacking balls. And this goes on for a minute. Alvin York just being the polite homeschool kid Terminator. Literally like, guys, seriously, please surrender. Bang. Okay, that's enough now. You guys can quit. Bang. Okay, guys, please surrender. Bang. During this phase of the battle, Alvin York is credited with somewhere between 18 and 23 kills. Okay, now to understand and comprehend what's going to happen next, you have to understand the perspective of the Germans that are up on top of the hill. They have the high ground, they have machine guns, they have fortified fighting positions, and they are in a firefight with one man, some 6-foot-tall ginger hillbilly from Tennessee, and somehow they're losing. And every time one of them builds up the courage to pop up over the berm, man the machine gun to return fire, this giant ginger sends their brain on a field trip. And just so we're all on the same page, York is shooting an Enfield chambered in 30-06. That is a high-powered rifle cartridge that is commonly used for hunting elk and moose. This rifle and this round is significantly more powerful and way more scary than the scary AR-15s.
Okay, so we'll move sail there.
To put it into perspective, here's a watermelon getting shot by 5.56 and 30-06 at 16,000 frames per second. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that if you're a German on top of that hill and you've just seen 20 of your buddies get their eyebrows sent into fucking orbit, that's starting to look like not that great of an idea, and you're probably looking for alternatives. Bearing that in mind, the Germans decide they're going to do something that tactically doesn't make a lot of sense. They're going to leave their fortified fighting positions, they're going to abandon the high ground, they're going to grab their rifles, fix bayonets, and they're going to charge this giant red-headed hillbilly and show them what's up.
There is a mini seasons that has to be played. Dude, packed.
Charge Alvin York, which in hindsight was a complete mistake for them, and it worked out for Alvin York because Alvin was actually out of rifle altogether, and he wasn't going to be able to do anything else. But now he's got 12
yeah, we're doing this.
Grabs his Colt 19 45 ACP. Bear in mind, he's only got 8 rounds and 12 Germans running at him.
When I see a mini seasons come out,
at that point,
all I can think about is free packs.
Okay, this is clearly the main character. I'm an anonymous henchman. I'm just going to call it a day. They hop back in the trench.
And look at you. You haven't even got a name tag. You've got no chance. Why don't you just fall down? Got some.
So now there's 7 Germans bayonet charging him, and
we're saving all these cards, by the way.
Perfect. Now, from the lead German's perspective, the guy that's out in front, obviously, he's the one that's going to get shot first. I mean, right? That's what makes sense. You shoot the closest threat first. That way nobody comes to get you, right? So, as long as he doesn't get shot, everything's going great. He sees Alvin York fire. The bullet whizzes past him. Alvin York missed. Fires again. Another bullet whizzes past him. Again. All of the bullets, all 6 of them, go whizzing right past him. He's got 1 bullet left. He gets shot directly in the stomach and drops. But what actually happened, Alvin York didn't miss. He didn't miss a single time. Alvin York knew that if he shot the dude in the front, everybody behind him was going to see it, and they were all going to take cover. Ammo. So he decided to take out the Germans the same way that you shoot a flock of geese that are flying. And he took out the geese at the rear of the formation first, working his way to the front so the formation didn't scatter. He was shooting the man in the back instead of the man in the front and dropped all 7 Germans. Now, cutting back to Alvin York's perspective during this bayonet charge where he's using bird hunting tactics to kill Nazis, he has bullets whizzing past him from behind him. Somebody is shooting at him while he's shooting these Germans.
Digging in, Jung-Hoo Lee.
It's that German commander Vollmer, because remember, nobody bothered to take his pistol away from inside the camp because shit hit the fan so fast, and he's trying to save his own guys, which is pretty understandable. So while York is shooting at Germans with his pistol,
he thought about it, but instead returns to second.
Doesn't give one
so the go-ahead run in scoring position. They'll bring up JT Realmuto.
If he doesn't get protected, it's all part of God's plan, so it's going to be fine. So York just focuses on what he's doing and lets everything else work itself out. And of course, doesn't get a single scratch on him the entire time. Vollmer empties the pistol, misses every single shot. York lands every one of his.
Close one doesn't get the call. And the count is 1-2.
Dude, the batter eye right now sucks ass.
Swing and a miss. Dropped him out of the slider, and there's 2 gone.
At this point, York
now it's the
turns
second
around,
baseman,
drops
Ryan
the pistol, puts his hands
Dozier,
up.
1 for
He knows
3.
he's invested, and he looks at York and he just goes, English? Like, clearly asking, like, you know, hey, I speak English, let's talk
2
this
down,
out. York
go ahead,
does not
run in
interpret it
scoring
that way
position.
and goes, no. To which Vollmer's like, what? And York goes,
that
I'm an American.
Close.
He's like,
Ball 2.
no, I'm saying I speak English. Quit killing everybody. I'll get the guys up there to surrender so you don't have to kill everybody. At which point, York reloads his pistol, points it at Vollmer. It's like, okay, go ahead. Vollmer starts yelling a bunch of stuff up the hill in German. A couple seconds later, a bunch of more Germans come out, no weapons, with their hands up, and they surrender too. Germans finish coming down the hill. They join the rest of the POWs, at which point, one of the 7 remaining privates comes up to York and is like, York, what are we going to do with all these prisoners? We don't have enough men to handle this many guys and get them back behind our lines. Vollmer hears this, and he's like, what? I'm sorry, how many men do you guys actually have? And York is like, I've got plenty, don't worry about it. At this point, York, with Vollmer still at gunpoint, is going to use Vollmer to translate and get everything moving. He's like, all right, get your guys up, tell them to get in a column of 2. We're going to march out of here, tell them to pick up your wounded, tell them to pick up my wounded and my dead. They're going to carry them back to our lines.
Runner in scoring position,
are we going to get
no
back?
outs.
Because we definitely can't go the way
now
we came
here
through
is
the woods. We're
Lane
not going to be able to keep
Thomas.
track of like 100+ German prisoners through
Delivers
that
a pitch
forest.
in
We're
for a
gonna have to
strike
go
at
out
95.
and the rest of the Germans are going to see us.
Fastball
And that's not
for a
going to work
strike.
out. At which point, Vollmer chimes in and he's like, well, you can take this goalie right
Got
here
him.
and I will take you right to
One
Hill
away.
223. He's obviously trying to set him up for an ambush because he knows where all of the soldiers are. And York is like, well, we're not fucking going there. You know what? I'm the main character. We're just going to march right down the main road that goes straight to Chantal Cherie, straight to Hill 223. So that's what they do. They just take off ruck marching right down the middle of this main road in the middle of enemy-held territory because York is the main character and it's all part of God's plan, I guess. So they're making their way there, and sure enough, they run into an entire platoon of Germans that are guarding the road because, obviously. However, from the Germans' perspective, there's like 7 Americans and 100+ Germans. There's absolutely no way that those Americans have those Germans as POWs, so they don't open fire. They end up walking up and approaching to see what's going on, figuring the Americans are the POWs. Once they get close enough to realize the Americans are the ones with the guns, York shoves his pistol into Vollmer's back and is like, make them surrender, tell them they're surrounded. Vollmer does what he's told, tells them to drop their guns, they're surrounded. They do it because Vollmer's the battalion commander, they drop their guns, and they get taken as POWs too. From there, they just keep marching to Hill 223, and as they start getting closer, the Americans see a massive formation of German uniforms approaching. They start freaking out, thinking it's a giant counterattack. They start moving men around, getting ready for a fight, and as they keep getting closer and closer, they're looking through field glasses, and they see York's big ginger ass with a gun pointed at the German, and it's like, holy shit, York captured everybody. So they get to the base of Hill 223. The 82nd commander meets him down there and is like, York, holy shit, how many men did you capture? To which York replies, honestly, I have no idea, sir. And the commander's like, all right, well, you're promoted to sergeant, by the way. Great work. March these guys into Chantal Cherie, and I'll count them off as they march by, I guess. The commander then proceeds to count them off as they march by. York had captured 132 Germans. So York marches his POWs up to Chantal Cherie, and the rest of the 82nd resumes their attack because now the Germans have 35 less machine gun positions, and the ones that do remain don't have a chain of command to be giving them orders. So they overtake the objective, they secure the area fairly easily. York makes it to Chantal Cherie, where battalion headquarters are. Battalion headquarters is like, we don't have the logistics for this many prisoners. March them up to regimental headquarters. Marches them up to regimental headquarters. They can't take that many prisoners either. March them to division headquarters. Marches them all the way to division headquarters. When he gets there, General Lindsay, like the main guy in charge of the 82nd, approaches York and is like, York, I hear you captured the whole damn German army. To which York replies, just with sheer Forrest Gump levels of modesty, no sir, I only captured 132.
Yes, I know that.
From there, he gets some food, finds a cot, lays down, writes in his journal for a little bit, because, you know, he's had a pretty eventful day. In his journal, he writes, and I quote, so you can see here in this case of mine where God helped me out. I'm a witness to the fact that God did help me out of that hard battle. For the bushes were shot up all around me, and I never got a scratch. Next morning, York reports back to Captain Danforth, and he requests to take on a small detail and go back to the site of his battle and look for any survivors, because that's just the type of guy that York is. Captain Danforth not only agrees to let him do it, but he's like, I'm going with you, and he brings some other high-ranking officers with him, because they want to hear York explain what the fuck happened. By the time they get out there, there's no survivors, all the dead bodies has already been removed, there was never an official body count of how many Germans York killed, but pretty much everybody agrees it's somewhere between 20 and 30 that he had killed single-handedly. York then takes him to the patch of grass that was his firing position, and, you know, he was in the heat of battle. He wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. It was all part of God's plan. But looking at it in retrospect, everything around the patch of grass that he was on is absolutely shot for shit. There's hundreds of bullet holes all over it. None of them hit Alvin York. He dropped his canteen during that firefight. That canteen was still there, feet from his position, and that canteen had 18 bullet holes in it. Okay, literally the holy canteen. It's all part of God's plan. York finishes explaining everything that happened there. They head back to headquarters. This is like a big deal, right? I mean, you're going to probably give this guy the Medal of Honor. They got to really know what happened, and this sounds so incredibly unbelievable. Like, they need to make sure this actually happened before they write this up, right? So, they interview York twice. Same exact story every time. He's incredibly honest about the entire thing, tries to give as much credit to the other 7 privates as he can. They interview the 7 privates. All 7 privates are like, Alvin York's a fucking superhero. They interview some of the Germans. The Germans are like, it was fucking crazy. I don't know. We couldn't hit the guy with bullets. They interview Vollmer. The story is the same.
Be right back.
Everybody. It's one of the most well-researched battles ever. From here, a couple of weeks go by. By October 28, 1918, his unit gets pulled back out of the Argonne. They go to the rear, and then he gets placed on 10 days leave on November 1st. And while he's on leave, he sends a postcard back home to his mother. You know, he's probably got a lot to tell her. That postcard reads, and I quote, "Hello, I'm okay. Sending you a postcard view of a little of this country along the coast. It's a nice scene. Well, that's all. He's literally Forrest Gump.
That's all I have to say about that. That's the right on me.
Now, like I said, he goes on 10 days leave on November 1st, 1918. Guess what happens on November 11th, right as he's ending his leave? Germany surrenders. World War I is over. Coincidence? Almost unequivocally, yes, but it's funny to joke that Alvin York was coming off vacation, so the Germans just decided to call it a day and end World War.
G2A.com is your best gate to play. One destination.
Yell it down.
We call him Albayega.
From here, Alvin York gets recommended for the Distinguished Service Cross. The only reason they weren't going to give him the Medal of Honor was because, well, the story was too unbelievable and nobody was willing to agree that actually happened. So they conducted an even more thorough investigation. Turns out it was all 100% legit.
Ready.
Upgraded it to the Medal of Honor.
One.
He gets awarded the Medal of Honor.
Ready. 1, 2, 1, 2. Ready. 1. Jump.
French general coming in to do some ceremony or something or other. So York and the rest of the guys are out in this parade field for like 2 days, picking up thousands and thousands
on the ground, right side.
Turns out the French guy that was coming was actually
out number one.
the French guy,
and a run comes in to score.
Foch, the supreme Allied leader of World War I, and he was actually coming for Alvin York. They had a big ceremony, and Ferdinand Foch awards Alvin York the French Croix de Guerre, essentially the French version of the Medal of Honor. He pins it right next to York's Medal of Honor and says, and I quote, "What you did was the greatest thing ever accomplished by any soldier in any of the armies of Europe." From here, York gets yanked away. He goes on speaking tours all over France. He does that for a number of months. He's finally ready to go home, goes back to America. The Americans find out. They want to know more about York. He does speaking tours all over
First
America.
and
At this
second,
point, he's still
no
in the United
outs.
States Army. He
Next for Cincinnati, Christian Encarnacion Strand. Donaldson, wise and deals. Had a strike right through there. That one in triple digits.
$1,000 is a ton of money. He's getting offered $10,000
1
for his life story in a book.
to Delgado for the double play.
To do a film about his exploits.
Now batting Jammer Candelario.
He doesn't want the fame. He doesn't want to be
And that is downstairs. And it's 1-0.
He feels like he did it because it was
Swings through that one for strike one. Hayes on third with 2 outs. Swings through the fastball up in the zone.
He just wants to go there, live his life, read his Bible, marry his
Gets a
sweetheart
piece
Gracie,
there. We'll do it again.
Exactly what he does. Time goes by, and he still has people offering him
Get on the ground to short.
Speaking engagements,
Fuck me.
books, anything and everything you can imagine. He's getting offered money to endorse products.
Slings it across.
And eventually,
That's out number 3.
Figures, this is a rare opportunity. He could probably do a lot of good in the world if he raised all this money and did something productive with it. And he remembers, he wasn't really able to go to school as a kid. He has about a 3rd grade education. He was only able to go to school on weekends. There just wasn't a school in that part of rural Tennessee when he was growing up, and there still isn't today. But if he could raise enough money, he could change that. He could affect the lives of all the kids around him, and that's what he decided to do. So that's what he does. He leverages his fame to raise money to open up schools for kids in rural areas so they can get an education. He goes on speaking tours, raising money. He sells the rights to his book. He sells the rights to his war diary that he kept during World War I. He sells the rights to a movie, goes on, he's the technical advisor. He ends up raising hundreds of thousands of dollars, which at this point in time is millions. He ends up founding the York Institute in Jamestown, Tennessee, which is a privately funded school, but it's open to kids.
For the first, now it's the DH, Lawrence Butler. Inside corner, that's a strike. 0-1.
Nothing. Just playing MLB, waiting for my racing to start.
Hit hard on the ground is short.